Hey folks, welcome to this special edition of Business Redefined. Typically we have a conversation on Tuesday, but if there's a content and the demand for it, why not have another day other than Tuesday? And we're privileged to have the acting CE for Stanbic Bank Kenya, Abraham Ongange, on the sidelines of the release of the bank's sustainability report focusing on the year of income 2025. Abraham, karibu sana.
Thank you very much.
And I think this is the first time we are sitting ever since you got the promotion. Congratulations, Abraham.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm humbled.
Abraham, what are your key highlights for the 25 sustainability report?
Yeah, and I think it's to also bring in the context of why do we do this? We realize as an organization is that our own existence requires us to continue to be relevant to the societies in which we operate. And therefore, what we need to be accountable for is to continue reporting progress on how we are building a sustainable future for Kenya and South Sudan. This report highlights the progress that we have made on the areas around how we think about our environment, how we think about the social fabric of the organization, how we think about governance, and also the impact we have made for our clients. It also acknowledges that this is not an agenda that's only delivered by Stanbic. It acknowledges the partnerships that we have created over time that have helped us build a much more sustainable operating environment.
All right. In terms of greening your portfolio, where do you stand as at the close of FY25?
So we've made significant progress. In 2024, 9% out of a business that's growing. We had about 8% in 2024 of green finance portfolio. We've moved that from 8% to 9%. Just in terms of context, our total book was a double-digit growth year on year. So moving 1% up kind of shows you a skew that we had very good growth in green financing. If we put a number, 4.5 billion of what we disbursed in 2025 was green finance, specifically green buildings.
And actually, that was my next question. Is it sector agnostic and how is it disaggregated?
So we've seen a good skew on green buildings in 2025. We've seen very good structures on agriculture. We've also seen quite some significant progress in how we've securitized solar financing into our projects. We're particularly pleased about a client we've helped to restructure financing that enhances the distribution of solar finance in Kenya, and also gives them access to both to Tanzania and into Uganda.
I see. Given the kind of growth you're looking at, Abraham, would you say then the challenge that we used to talk about in terms of the scarcity of bankable projects is slowly being addressed?
Yeah. Our conversations with our clients, and we've taken a governance position to this, that any lending that we do as an organization above $1 million, that we have to do ESG due diligence. So we have to assess its impact. But naturally, we have found that these bankable projects are available. The challenge we need to deliver more is our ability to continue to source affordable capital to finance some of these bankable projects because of the impact they would have around the societies that we operate in. So quite encouraging to see progress in bankables. A challenge still remains around continuous sourcing of affordable finance to support these projects.
And what funding sources are you then looking at? I'd imagine DFIs are quite on the table, but even DFIs by themselves are experiencing a bit of a liquidity crunch given the changing geopolitical landscape.
Yeah. Here is where the strength of Standard Bank and Stanbic Bank comes in. The fact that we are the largest banking organization in Africa. And the key challenge here is that the shifts that we're seeing in DFIs do need to be replaced by Africans and Africa finding its own sources of capital. That is where we leverage the strength of Stanbic and Standard Bank as a group, and we partner then to source financing to support some of these projects, and also understanding financing the projects in the right structures. That's where our strengths come in. So what we have seen is that in cases where we have cost of capital tensions in different countries, we are able to source this financing across, depending on the different dynamics in the markets that we operate.
Abraham, as you talk about different capital structures for ESG leaning financing, are you then suggesting that predominantly would expect you to play as debt? Are you suggesting we could also see you play as equity and also in a bit of a hybrid kind of arrangement?
Yeah. We have seen examples where we have gone to market with bond issuances, which then kind of are quite different, where you then invite other investors interested in the counterparty to do things that are relevant but still address green financing. We've seen securitization, where we leverage on the assets of the organization and provide access to credit. Sometimes we would issue, especially for the smaller segments, we will issue normal vanilla debt to support financing for this. But then we also structure it in a manner that the benefits of some of this debt are matched from a tenor perspective to allow some of our clients be able to afford.
You talked about ESG due diligence as a metric you now take for funding above a given threshold. I'd imagine if you had to push this downstream to the micro and small segment, how would you do that? Because a number of them would really struggle on that front.
Yeah.
Yet the impact is still needed there.
The impact is still needed, yeah. And hence the reason why we are quite cognizant of the minimum threshold. So we've placed our minimum threshold as $1 million so that it doesn't become a compliance burden for any debt below $1 million. But to your point, we have to realize that some of this impact doesn't matter, also has to trickle down. And in that space, we are then investing in building capacity. In the sustainability launch that we have just done today, we've introduced a free platform to enable everyone now have access to the understanding of what does carbon markets mean, what does energy financing mean. We've created a platform that is free for training. That allows the SMEs, the individuals as well, to start understanding how they structure their businesses to be ESG compliant.
Okay. Abraham, you talked about the growth between FY24 and 25 in terms of greening your portfolio. Mm-hmm. In a 5-year medium-term horizon, where would you like this to be?
We actually see progress to about 15% of our book being green finance as a medium-term target to get there. Having said that, we will still partner in availing access to financing, even when we are not necessarily participating fully as the finance provider. So we also want to help in capacity building and arranging some of this debt, whether or not this financing would sit in our balance sheet.
Okay. In terms of governance, what are some of the key highlights you would point out to us?
Yeah, governance has been quite critical and quite deliberate in how we then shape diversity in the decisions we make. So we've been quite deliberate in saying right from our leadership, from our boards, that we actually invite different perspectives. And one key metric that we monitor is a metric around how do we have diversity between women in our boards and men in our boards, also within senior management. How do we ensure equity in how we pay for both men and women? We are quite pleased that for every 1 shilling that is paid to a man, 1 shilling is paid to a woman within the bank. We then create frameworks that think about climate risk and how we make decisions around climate risk, frameworks that think about how we manage and deal disputes, either within the board and within management, frameworks around how we deal about whistleblowing and allowing people the safety to raise issues that require address. And we continue to embed this, including some of the credit decisions that we make, that framework around how do you think about your lending and putting a checklist around, does it satisfy the environmental concerns, the social concerns, and governance concerns as well. So we've seen very good and very strong progress there. We demand the same to the people who are in our ecosystems. So we are aiming to ensure that we continuously increase the number of women-owned businesses that are supplying the organization within our ecosystem. We are currently at 15.53%. We do aim to get that to about 20%. And that does not mean that we then get substandard supply. It also allows us to build capacity to ensure that the quality of the service we receive also remains within par.
Abraham, you talked about the importance of securing fairly priced funding to be able to on-lend. 2 questions here for you. One, if you look at the environment we are in, we have seen a number of corporates going to market with sustainability and sustainability-linked notes. A mortgage refinance did that. You saw the pricing. The leading telco in the market and in the region did that. You saw the pricing and the subscription. Abraham, you have a strong balance sheet. You've got a strong parent company. Is this on the table for you?
So we did participate in some of this in terms of advising our clients. So we have strength and knowledge in doing this for ourselves, as well. I think we would like to tie this to opportunities, and also ensure that we both marry our own resource sourcing and partnerships. I'll give you an example of the Kenya Mortgage Refinance Company, and quite a successful
Absolutely.
Issuance. But that then translates back to us
Because
we
lender.
are the primary mortgage lender. That's how we then access markets, but we access markets by also providing the intermediation of that benefit of that successful note issuance to the client who's trying to get some housing. Similar thing to the telco companies. Some of the interactions we have around how do we assist their own distributors is harnessing that benefit and transferring that, being the intermediary for that. In cases where we have specific use cases, we are open to get to the market.
Okay. Secondly, you're doing a lot of work in terms of cutting the carbon footprint. A number of companies which have gone that route have the carbon credit in mind in terms of being able to unlock the dividends from that. Is that something which plays top on your mind as well?
It does play top on our minds. We are probably not on the more significant player around carbon as an organization, but we have deep knowledge in how we assist our clients transition and get carbon credit. Our participation on energy and infrastructure is actually quite critical in addressing that, and we are a big player for that. So we are more leaning towards, while we optimize our own operations as an organization, we think scale is how we assist our clients, our big clients, optimize their operations as well.
We are midway F26, and I'm very curious as to what would be your 3 priority areas for sustainability, given what you've seen in F25.
Yeah, If we look at 2025, we've made significant progress around rehabilitating land in the country, about 107 hectares of land that we have rehabilitated by growing trees. We would want to do more of that, and we want to target from a 200,000 trees, we want to grow about 250,000 trees. And we acknowledge we can't do this alone. We have to have partners, clients, and our own staff involved in that journey. That piece will enable us put a little bit more land that's rehabilitated, that's much more useful to society. Second is a piece around trade. We would want to facilitate trade, and we've seen great progress in 2024, facilitated trade of about 76 billion. We've moved to 133 billion. We want to continue to grow that, and if we can double it this year, that will be significant progress. The third is that we realize that our society is moving more into the informal sector. Statistics show about 95% of businesses in Kenya, just by count, 95% are potentially informal.
Yeah.
There's a lot of work we can do there around access to capital, access to knowledge, access to networks, and then growing that piece by looking at our product settings and ensure that it is much more inclusive around how we finance that growth. So those three things are probably things that I'm looking forward to into 2026.
On the trade finance, Abraham, I'd imagine all the uncertainty and topsy-turvy environment we are in actually creates more opportunity in terms of intermediation.
Yeah. It has created opportunity in two ways. One, an opportunity for us to protect the wealth of our clients and our businesses. So it's created an opportunity around how do we think differently around insurance. It's created opportunity around how do you facilitate continuity of business by providing a much more expanded working capital. It has also created opportunity for us to help our clients find alternative markets.
Yeah.
So where our clients potentially relied on certain corridors for their inputs, because of the network we have, we are helping them to say, look, have you considered a route from South Africa, from Nigeria, from Zambia as well? So it has helped us kind of connect our customers and diversify their input routes. So we've seen that as an opportunity. We've also seen that our currency has become much more resilient and much more stable, but we still assist our customers around hedging that cost going forward.
Oh, interesting perspectives there. As we close our conversation, Abraham, I'm very curious about many times when you have had a conversation around sustainability, the aspect of greenwashing as a challenge to players who are checking all the tick boxes like yourselves has emerged as a significant problem. Do you view this as quite a headache on your part, and what do you think can be done, whether it is from a policy perspective or from industry players like yourselves, to be able to circumvent it?
Yeah, so I think we have to put in some credit to our regulators, industry players, and the communities around elevating the conversation on sustainability. So if you talk about how financial and integrated reports are now created, there's a need for us to be a little bit more deliberate and transparent on what we are doing. Our own local regulators issuing guidance and enhancing
And the
that.
taxonomy
And the taxonomies.
Yeah.
So you can see genuine intent to make this a much more transparent set of activity. I think awareness is still a place we can do a bit more and a little bit more investment, and we shouldn't belittle the piece we need to make around awareness. So we need more movement.
Yeah.
We need more movement to ensure that there's actually genuine investment in this, rather than a publicity play.
I see. We have a roadmap in terms of adoption, and not to get too technical around the sustainability reporting standards. If you look at it was rolled out by the Institute of Certified Public Accountants,
Yeah.
and we're looking at 2029 thereabout, then everyone should be on board.
Should be on board.
Just how much of a game changer would this be given what you've just indicated there?
Yeah, I would tell you what we have seen
Yeah.
as kind of shaping in our own organization. We have thought quite deliberately around our operating model as an organization. We have specific structures that ensure that sustainability is an agenda right at the office, onto our boards, and eventually culminating into how we define our success.
Yeah.
Our success is now no longer defined by financial outcomes. It also gets defined by our social, economic, and environmental impact. That's a huge operating change that we have made. I see a little bit more need for us to include this in some of the competencies we have even in our schools. I think that's a place where we need to build a little bit of muscle. So some of our tertiary education institutions do need to start thinking about this. There is a piece where we also do need political and culture change. There are different countries which have environment days where they tell you go out there and do something. Just as symbolism around, always remember that sustainability and thinking about your environment, your governance, your social impact remains important, and eventually it then becomes a conversation in every boardroom or every tea conversations you have.
Abraham, I'm told our time is out. Give us your parting shot.
I'm excited about the progress we've made as Stanbic. I do acknowledge that making our environment much more sustainable cannot be an individual or an single organization event. It has to do with partnerships we create both within ourselves as an organization and as our employees, but also with our clients and our various partners. So I'm actually quite excited about the convergence of thinking, and quite hopeful about the future.
We've been speaking to the acting CE for Stanbic Bank Kenya and South Sudan. That is Abraham Ongenge on the sustainability report covering the year of income FY 2025, and has given us what are the priority areas in FY 26, which we are currently midway, including the subject of trade finance within the evolving geopolitical environment. Quite a sweet spot there. We shall keep tabs when the next one is out to bring you the latest as and when it unfolds.